Good evening and welcome to our 9 p.m. edition of the English News edition. Coming up, meeting of President Farmacho with the Minister of Health, Dr. Jamal Mulki. In Djibouti celebrated the World Food Day in Obok. Good evening. The Health Minister Dr. Jamal Mulki and the 30 Djiboutian doctors and paramedics who traveled to Mogadishu for emergency medical assistance yesterday were welcomed by the Somali Minister on the tarmac at the Mogadishu International Airport of Health, Mrs. Fouzia Bakr, and her colleague of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Garad Umar. Also noteworthy is the presence of the airport of Djiboutian ambassador to Somalia, Aden Ahmed Aden, and the chief of staff of AMISOM, General Subakli. Faced with the scale of the tragedy, it was an instruction from the President of the Republic, Ismail Margele, that the Health Minister had been dispatched to Somalia at the head of a mission of medical assistance. It is composed of 30 doctors, surgeons and paramedics with nearly 4 tons of medicines and surgical consumables to help the victims of the attack in the capital of Somalia. The minister, upon his arrival on the spot, conveyed the solidarity and support of the Djiboutian people toward the Somali brotherly people. And soon after, Djiboutian Health Minister Dr. Jamal Mulki and members of the Djiboutian Medical Mission were introduced to the Somali Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khairi for a courtesy visit. The Somali Prime Minister praised President Gele's commitment to work with Somalis in all circumstances. He also thanked the entire Djibouti delegation for this mobilization in this mark of solidarity. And after the courtesy visit to the Somali Prime Minister, Health Minister Dr. Jamal Mulki was received by the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed Farmacho, who warmly welcomed the Djibouti delegation. The Minister of Health explained the goals of this solidarity mission to help the wounded of the bloody attack last Saturday. The Djiboutian minister said that Djibouti doctors will provide emergency care in trauma, maxillofacial surgery, orthopedics and general surgery to the many victims of this explosion. The Minister of Health also declared that the Republic of Djibouti will always stand side by side with the Federal Republic of Somalia in order to continue the mutual cooperation on security issues, but also in the socio-economic fields for the strengthening of our historical and fraternal ties, he said. In an intervention, the Minister of Health, Dr. Jamal Mulki, spoke about the history of the ties between the Republic of Djibouti and the Federal Republic of Somalia, recalling Djibouti's ongoing efforts in the reconstruction of Somalia, in particular with the organization of Arta Conference in 2000 and also the sending of Battalion Hil Walal to guarantee the integrity of the Somali sister nation. He also indicated that the Djibouti people, and in particular the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, are deeply overwhelmed and appalled by the appalling terrorist attack that has plunged Somalia, and remains united with the brotherly people of Somalia, in particular in these moments of tragedy and pain. And for his part, President Farmacho warmly thanked his friend and brother Ismail Margele for his unwavering attention and support for the reconstruction of Somalia. And the Somali president has long stretched himself on the secure ties that exist between the two sister nations. He said that the Somali people are aware of this fraternity and affection shared with the Djiboutian people. He finally recalled the sending of the Battalion Hill for the security of the country, the restoration of peace and stability. Still in Mogadishu, the second flight that left today for Mogadishu arrived at the international airport of the capital, and this aircraft essentially chartered medicines and hospital equipment. The first plane, which left for Somalia, was led by the Minister of Health with 4 tons of medicines and hospital equipment. The aid has been transported from the international airport Buli to destination Mogadishu, where the injured are taken in charge by medical team that had accompanied the Minister of Health yesterday. The second party of medical aid mobilized constitute many medicines for the wounded of the attack of Mogadishu. And to the odious attack on Saturday, Somali capital has made nearly 300 victims and hundreds of wounded. The time is for assistance. In this sense, the Republic of Djibouti is the first African nation to have provided immediate medical assistance on the instruction of the Djiboutian head of state, Ismail Margili. And this medical admission is conducted and coordinated by the Minister of Health, Dr. Jamil Al-Mukir, who is sparing no efforts to provide assistance to our Somali brothers and sisters who are victims of this tragic assault. And in this event, without images, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, spokesman of the government, Muhammad Ali Yusuf, is in Tashkent, the capital of Tajikistan, where yesterday opened the Arab-Asia Cooperation Forum. Muhammad Ali Yusuf co-chairs with his Tajik counterpart, Mr. Suraj al-Din al-Sof, the second Arab Economic and Cooperation Forum with the countries of the Central Asia and Azerbaijan, and the theme of this forum is investing for growth and prosperity. The opening ceremony was held under the high patronage of the President of the Republic of Tajikistan, His Excellency Imam Ali Rahman, and the head of Djibouti diplomacy stressed that the holding of this forum is an important step toward building a future based on growth and prosperity, as well as the establishment of an effective and mutual beneficial partnership between the Arab states, Central Asian countries and Azerbaijan. And the minister stressed the need for operational mechanism to achieve desired goals and objectives. Every year on 16 October celebrates the International Day of Food. The celebration of the event is entrusted to the Department of Agriculture, and the meeting was held this morning in Obok and was supported by the WFP, FAO and UNICEF. This year, the city of Obok hosted the celebration of the International Day of Food, which draws a parallel between illegal immigration, rural exodus, and even the distress of unemployed young people who are marginalized in the cities. The team chosen by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations this year is changing the future of migrants, investing in food security and sustainable development. Under the leadership of the Minister of Agriculture, Muhammad Ahmed Awale, the celebration ceremony took place at the Al-Rahmi complex in the town of Obok. On his arrival, the minister was welcomed by the prefect of Obok, Hassan Dabil Ahmed, and the notables of Obok. And in his speech, the minister congratulated the organizing committee of the World Day of Power Supplies in Obok. Then the minister indicated that the Obok fishery will be competitive and sustainable. In the same day, the minister and his delegation proceeded to a symbolic operation which consists of planting trees in the camp of Merkazi. This operation is part of the fight against deforestation and the beautification of the environment for the benefit of migrants and refugees. The prime moment of the day was the laying of the first stone of the construction of the new fishery of work by the minister, Mr. Muhammad Ahmed Awale. And this initiative is part of the fight against unemployment and the diversification of sources of income for the benefit of local population, including migrants and refugees. The Minister of Muslim Affairs and Culture, Mumin Hassan Bouré, received in audience in his office Dr. Latif, a delegate of the International Committee of the Red Cross in charge of programs for Islamic Circle. The minister spoke with the senior official who is on a working visit to our country. The purpose of the visit is to further develop the collaboration between the IRC and the religious authorities, particularly in the field of the international humanitarian law and the common features of Islamic law. Continuing with the national news, the Deputy Minister in charge of decentralization, Hamidou Mohamed Aramis, chaired yesterday an important working meeting with the presidents of the regional and communal councils as well as the mayor of the Djibouti, Fatouma Awali Osman. This meeting forms part of the coordination of the work of the decentralized entities with the various ministerial departments, including the State Secretary of Social Affairs, with a view to inform them and preparing them as well as possible for the rules and taxes within their remit. The meeting was co-hosted by the officials of the delegate ministry responsible for decentralization and those of the State Secretariat for Social Affairs, and was opened by Mr. Aramis, who recalled the absolute necessity of involving local and regional authorities in all projects and as well before the executives of the State Secretariat for Social Affairs present PowerPoint presentation on the scope and usefulness of the social register. The minister urged the regional and municipal elected representative to citizen participation, which is a pledge to appropriate all the activities carried out by the State Secretary in charge of social affairs throughout the territory. The fifth session of the General Assembly of the International Islamic Press Agency, a specialized organ of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OCI, closed on Monday in Jeddah. And at this general meeting, the Secretary General of the OCI, Dr. Yusuf, welcomed the efforts made and the actions plan proposed by the Director General, Mr. Isa, who headed this agency. Saudi Minister of Culture and Information and Chairman of the Board of Directors, Dr. Alawada, stressed that the responsibility of the media in the Islamic world to defend Islamic values against the new challenges of extremist organization and advocates the Islamophobia, and praised the formidable work carried out by Mr. Isi during his tenure. At the end of the meeting, the following resolution were adopted: changes to the status of the agency, which is transformed into a union of press agencies of the member countries of OCI. In this capacity, this union has a more important role in the coordination and collaboration with all the media of the member countries of the OCI, and creation as well of the new training center for journalists for the strengthening of the professional performance of media journalists of the OCI. The town of Randa has reserved a warm reception to the young principal of Ahmed Gabir and Mr. Idris Ibrahim, the children of the country, decorated respectively with the Medal of Knight and Commander of the Order of Education by the President of the Republic on the occasion of the celebration of the War Teachers' Day on Thursday. A huge reception and feast were reserved for them by the entire population of Randa in proud of this recognition of the nation. With regard to these two educators, the Minister of Decentralization, Mr. Aramis, himself a native of Randa, happens to be a former student of Mr. Idris Ibrahim in the school of his village, also participated actively in the organization of this event, which was, according to him, part of the will to participate in the policy of valorization of teachers advocated by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Mergeli. And on the international scene now, the Iraqi forces have largely regained control of the province of Kirkuk without fighting or almost facing Peshmerga victims of divisions between the two largest Kurdish parties. But the worry is in Washington, which called for calm. With a military base and airport at the ponies, the Baghdad forces had reached almost all of their targets on Monday evening in that province disputed with autonomous Iraqi Kurds of President Masoud Barzani, whose fortress were immediately withdrawn in Kirkuk. The rich province of Kirkuk, which is not part of the Iraqi Kurdistan, has been at the heart of a dispute between Baghdad and Erbil since the recent referendum on Kurdish independence of 25 September has further exacerbated, and this offense brought the light to the crisis between the Democratic Party of Kurdistan of Masoud Barzani, the initiator of the referendum of independence, and the UPK, who prefer to engage in negotiation with Baghdad under the umbrella of UN. The south of the province of Kirkuk was until then held by Peshmerga affiliated to the UPK, while the BDK controlled the north and the east. And that's all for this news. Thank you for joining us in RTD and have a great evening.